friends. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Testing, testing. Mic check. 1, 2, 1, 2. So sorry this got delayed, friends. I know I planned on doing it a couple days ago. Who's trying to call me? How's everybody doing? So sorry for the delay. Let's do a quick little audio check. Make sure everybody can hear me. Sorry for the delay. I know I had to push this back a few times. My bad, my bad. William Tardy. Well, always good to see you, sir. Hello, hello. Sorry that I am late. I am usually very punctual. How's my audio, though? I tried to do like a quick check in the background and make sure everything sounded okay, but you got to let me know if I'm flipping in and out or anything. Kind of fix that right there. Sounds good. Sound is good. Swampside Chick, hello. Mittens for Kittens, hello, honey. How are you? Formerly Jimmy Bobby, hello. William Tardy, audio's good. Awesome, thank you. Okay, cool. Hopefully it doesn't glitch too bad. Transformer Uplifter, hello. Shows like it's only catching me like, at 1 here, and I want it to be a little bit more than that. I can see like how it's catching my audio. So, Kane, what up, gangsta? What up, Kane B? Always good to see you. You go live way too late for me, homie. Okay, your lives are at like 3 a.m. I'm definitely 100% fast asleep. My day usually starts around 5:30. So sorry, I keep missing your lives, friend. You just do that shit way too late for me over here. Mama is definitely asleep at 3 a.m. Annie Ruler, well, hello from Vegas to you. McP, hello, beautiful McP. How's everybody doing today? Happy Saturday. I know I've been putting this off for a couple days. Sorry about that. Just, life happened, man. Shit happens. JK, you got notified? Wow. Shocking. Welcome on in, JK. Swampside Chick, hello. Good to see you. So yeah, obviously this live is going to be about IGG, but to be honest with you, if I can just be completely honest with you, friends, I almost retitled the live to have nothing to do with Idaho because there's so much other shit going on that, like, it is what it is. People have lost their minds, in my opinion. Um, the fact that there are people in this world right now who think that the response to someone saying something they don't agree with is to shoot them dead is the most wild shit. And I literally, if I even, mods, if you even see the words right or left, if someone even starts talking about, well, it's the left or it's the right, please delete the comment because I have no affiliation to, I have no allegiance to anyone. My allegiance is to the Constitution of the United States, and I literally do not give a fuck if you have an R or a D or an L or an I after your name. If you believe that killing people who say things you don't like is the appropriate response, we are not the same. We are not the same. So I just kind of wanted to get that off my chest because I literally almost retitled the live and was going to talk about the political assassination of Charlie Kirk because that's exactly what it is. It was a political assassination. It was it was, you know, in my opinion, this is an attack on literal free speech. That's just my opinion. That's what happened here. It was an attack on free speech because Charlie, that's all he ever did. He just exercised his right to free speech on campuses across the country. He engaged in intellectual debate with as many people as he possibly could. He never used violence to get his point across. He never promoted using violence to get your point across. So, it's just, I guess that's the thing I'm having a really hard time with because I don't affiliate myself with either political fucking party in this country. I wish all of them would actually fuck off into the sun, if you want my honest to God's opinion. I kind of wish all of these political parties would fuck right off into the sun. Okay? Because this whole like it's I don't have it in me anymore to coddle people and to, you know, if you're not for the Constitution, there shouldn't even be anything political about this. The Constitution isn't political. The Constitution is separate from politics. Know what I mean? It's entirely separate. So you either support the Constitution or you don't. You don't get to say that I only like the Constitution when it suits me. And then other parts of it I don't like. If I hear one more person say that we need more gun control because of what happened to Charlie, I might I might actually go scream into the void on a hike somewhere in the mountains because there is not one single extra gun law that would have prevented this person from acquiring a firearm and doing what they did. There isn't a new law you can make that's going to stop someone from getting something like a firearm if they want to get one. You understand? How do you think all the gangbangers in Chicago have their guns? You think they bought them fucking legally? Or perhaps are they illegal? If somebody wants to kill you, they're going to find a way to do it. Doesn't matter what law you put on the books because criminals don't follow fucking laws. Okay? My firearms have never walked themselves out of the house to go shoot people. Just saying. So I noticed that there is a specific group of people that every single time a firearm is used anywhere, it's, oh, we need more gun laws. And I'm over here going, no, no, you're just, you're starting off in the wrong place. No, there's no extra gun law that would prevent someone from getting a fucking gun, whether they go get it legally or illegally. So I'm sick of every time something happens, it means we must limit the rights of law abiding citizens because someone who doesn't abide by the law violated the law. Okay? I'm actually sick of hearing it. I'm sick of being told that my rights need to be infringed upon because some fucking degenerate can't follow the law. You understand? So, and I'm not, I gave up politics a long time ago, friends. I know I've told you that, like, for a very, very long time, large portion of my life had to do with politics and constitutional law. And I gave it up a long time ago because I don't affiliate with anyone anymore. My allegiance is to the Constitution. That's it. Not a person, not a political party, not Orange Man. Even though I love Orange Man, he cracks me up. I think Agent Orange is hysterical. Full disclosure. I think he's literally one of the funniest people I've ever met in my life. And yes, I've met him. And he is absolutely hysterical in real life. He is a very down to earth, cool, hysterical person. So, um, you know, it's just wild to me that there are people out here who think that the appropriate response to someone saying words they don't like is to kill them. And then the people praising that, the mentally unhinged, emotionally stunted lunatics who think that the appropriate response to this man being sacrificed on live TV for the world to see is to cheer it on and to, yay, yay. Are you serious? Are you actually serious? I've had people in my comments saying, well, I'm not surprised because he was a right wing MAGA extremist. That's their words. A Trumper. What the fuck is a Trumper? You mean someone who voted for Trump because he supported Trump? He should be killed for his speech? That makes you the fascist. You understand that, right? If you're listening, you crazy little fascists who think you're fighting fascists. You're not fighting fascism. You are the fascists. I hope you hear me. I hope I'm coming in loud and clear. If you think the appropriate response to someone saying words you don't like or agree with is to kill them or commit violence against them, you are the actual fascist. Hitler would have loved you because you're so easily triggered and emotionally manipulated. Do you get it? And like I'm not even angry. This is just I'm just giving you my raw, real opinion on what I'm seeing happening. Because as someone who has voted for both sides of the aisle, I guess you could say, in my life, that's exactly why I no longer subscribe to either. Because I do not consent to any other human being governing me. I don't consent. I do not consent. It doesn't matter who it is. I do not consent to another human being governing me. I can self govern just fine. Just fine. So, either way, you know, I can't believe I'm honestly just appalled at some of the comments that I have seen on social media over the last few days, basically blaming him. Because here in the true crime sphere, what do we do, right? How many times are we told, and I promise I will come to chat and say hi to everybody, but right now I'm just giving you my brain worms. So I will come and say hi to everybody. But in the true crime sphere, we're always told you can't victim blame. Oh, you're victim blaming. If you ask questions about, say, for example, the survivors of the Idaho 4 crime, the air quote survivors, right? You can't victim blame. Meanwhile, you have tens of thousands of people across the internet literally doing the exact same thing. They're blaming Charlie Kirk, saying that the words he said are his own. That's why he was killed. They're saying it's his own fault that he had the gall to vocalize his beliefs, and they didn't like it. They literally fucking killed him for having thoughts and opinions they don't like. Do you know how insane that is? And if you agree with it and you are happy about it and you've been all over your socials applauding what happened to him, it's cool. It's cool. Keep it up. Keep it up. You just radicalized an entire generation of conservatives who will never, ever, ever, ever again, ever, ever affiliate with that side ever again. And they see you. They see you celebrating it. They know that some of you are their children's teachers. They know that some of you are their doctors. Some of you are their fucking masseuse, their hairstylist, and I promise you, they're watching you. They're paying attention. If you think that um, if you think that the people who entrust you with their children, you know, do you think the people who entrust you with their children are going to sit back idly while you celebrate the sacrifice of a human being on live TV? If you think the parents are going to sit back and watch you celebrate something like that and then trust you to be around their minor children, you're sorely mistaken. Hate to tell you. Hate to tell you. So hang on one frickin' second. I'm probably having an audio issue. Let me come to chat. Okay. I would like to be able to say hi to everybody, but I have a feeling I'm probably having an audio issue. Hang on. Hang on. I see Willie saying something. Hey, Willie. Oh, my audio's perfect. Oh, okay, good. Oh, awesome. I saw Willie saying he doesn't know what that is, and then my text message went off, so I thought maybe it was my audio and he was warning me about it. Is that you texting me, homie? No. Okay, cool. Awesome. So, anyways, you know, it is what it is. I hope every single one of you understand that when it comes to our rights, the Constitution, those are the two things I'm always going to side with. And I'm never going to side with someone's feelings over the Constitution. So I just hope you guys understand that. Um, when it comes to our rights in the Constitution, those are the two things that will always take precedent for me over anybody else's feelings on anything. So, if that's not your cup of tea, I completely understand if you want to go ahead and click the unsubscribe button. But here, the only thing that matters are the rights. And if you oppose the rights in any way under the guise of, but we need to infringe upon the rights because of safety, peace, security, etc., whatever your fucking reasoning for it is, it's always going to be a hard no. It's always going to be a hard pass. I will never, ever relinquish my rights to tyrants. Do you understand? I'm never going to stop exercising my rights to appease tyrants. It's never going to happen. Okay? So I completely understand if you don't want to hang around for that. But I'm giving you guys full transparency. Okay? Full transparency. That way you don't have to stick around if you don't want to. I completely understand. There are a lot of people who come from countries that do not have a constitution. They don't understand the rights because they've been taught, in their country, what rights? Their rights come from government. Ours do not. That's the difference. My rights, your rights, didn't come from government, therefore the government can't fucking infringe upon them or chill them or pause them or take them away. Do you understand? I understand there's plenty of other places where that doesn't happen, and you have to do everything the government says. Here, where I come from, we challenge the government, we question the government, always, every day, and twice on Sunday. And we never take their fucking word for anything. That's just how we roll. If that's not your cup of tea, feel free to check out. No hard feelings. Know what I mean? Yes, exactly, William Tardy. The people that come from communist countries understand that. Yeah, agreed. They sure do. I'm going to come back to chat. I'm going to start saying hello. I know too fast for fleas. You're so pretty. You were in here and you did a little super sticker, and I don't think I started, and I'm so sorry, but thank you so much, Too Fast for Fleas, for your super sticker. You're so pretty, and I hope you are still here. Meg P, Truth Nation, Kane B, Stone, Terry, Amethyst Noir, Echoes, Darling, Fizzy Cake. Who am I missing? I don't want to miss anyone, but chat's flying, friends. Fizzy Cake, hello. Dago, yay, Dago's here. Bunny Murphy, James Moen. James Moen, always good to see you, sir. Always. Meg P, did I already say hi to you, honey? Hi, Annie Ruler. If I'm missing anybody, sorry, I'm scrolling. Chat's flying, I'm trying to get to you. Swampside Chick, hello. Mittens for Kittens, hello. So yeah, welcome on in, everybody. I don't want to miss anyone, but welcome, welcome. Ooh, Jessie, always good to see you, honey. So yeah, either way, hope everybody's having a good weekend so far. We got a lot to get into. I listed all of these documents that we're going to try and take a little peeky-poo review of today. They are listed in the description of the video, okay? So if anybody wants to get the docs, print them, laminate them, frame them, burn them, I don't give a fuck what you do. They're there for you and your pleasure. Linda, hello. Gail, hello. Circus music, what's cracking? Circus music, thanks. I noticed that you said in my comment the other day that you were going to share my video. And I got to tell you, full transparency, I cracked the fuck up laughing because you're usually the one talking shit about me in everybody else's chat and talking about me and my bad attitude. But yeah, thanks for sharing my shit. Appreciate it. Good looking out, homie. Shut that. All right, so young black economist, always good to see you, darling. Always, always. Ro, hello. I'm starting to get to the bottom of my chat now here, friends. If I'm missing you, I'm sorry. Suzanne B, hello, honey. Roxy, hello. William Tardy, well, thank you so much, sir, for your $5 super sticker. You're amazing. Truly appreciate you, as always. Yeah, circus music. If you're still listening, darling, no hard feelings. I get it. You think I have a shitty attitude. You don't like my attitude. Honey, I've been hearing that since I was about 9. So it's not new here. You're not telling me anything that I haven't heard since I was like 9 years old. I've kind of always been this way. I'm just usually a very serious, snarky ass bitch, and it is what it is. It's okay. I get it. You don't have to like my attitude. I'm not here for people to like me or my attitude. You know what I mean? That's not what I'm here to do. So, brutally honest. Yes. Well, see, there you go. That's the perfect screen name. Hello to you. Greetings to you. Brutally honest. All right. So, I did link all of the docs for everybody. Oopsie. Sorry if my computer's dinging at you. Well, I love you right back, Dago. Thanks for being here, as always, as always. All right, so let me see. Where are we going to start? We're going to start with the initial um, motion to suppress IGG. And I know that that was a long time ago, but they all go together. Know what I mean? So your initial motion to suppress IGG is then also going to, the follow-up was the, motions in limine and blah, 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 and then the unsealed hearing. So there's a lot to go through. Well, Misty Jane, well, thank you, darling. I appreciate you. Yeah, it is what it is. I don't have a filter. I'm probably some kind of undiagnosed um, Asperger. I don't fucking know. It is what it is. This is just how I've always been. I just say what's on my mind. I don't have a filter. Sometimes I'm wrong, and that's okay. You know what I mean? We're not perfect. There ain't nobody here perfect, right? So it was just funny to me. I figured I would give circus music a shout out because circus music is usually talking mad shit about me in other people's chats, but then came to my comments saying they were going to share my stuff. So, hey, good looking out. I'll take it. Keep me in that algorithm, baby. Know what I mean? I do. I have a very abrasive personality. Wilson Grand Communications. Yes. I'm glad you appreciate it. Thanks, homie. Love it. You know, Lana loves it. Willie loves it. Lots of people like it. And I'm not everybody's cup of tea. I think I've said it before. You could be the ripest, juiciest peach on the tree, and there's still going to be some asshole out there who don't like peaches. And you know what? That's okay. I'm still going to be a juicy fucking peach no matter what. You know what I mean? Snark and all. So let's get to it. Again, thank you everybody for being here. Mods, thank you for being here. New subscribers, new members. There's so many of you who turn green. That's freaking amazing. I've had so many people gifting memberships as well, which is also amazing. So if you got gifted a membership, make sure you say a thank you in the chat. You have some special Michael Myers emojis that you can use in the chat and use those to say thank you. When I'm in another window reading, I can't see my chat. So please, everybody, stay respectful, act like adults, okay? Don't be catty little bitches in my chat, or else I'm going to time you out for the rest of the live. I'm just going to keep it at that. If you can't act like adults and you're going to be catty little bitches in my chat, I will time you all out. I don't care. I'll time this whole fucking chat out. Kidding, kidding, kidding. But I am giving everybody forewarning. You know what I mean? If there's anybody in here who's being catty, being stupid, if you're just going back and forth bickering about things that are completely off topic, we are on topic for IGG. That's all we're talking about today. Investigative genetic genealogy and the documents filed in this case regarding that. That's it. And if you're being catty little bitches in chat about anything else, I'll fucking time you out myself. Okay? I'm going to try and have it open on my phone so that I can still be watching on my phone and it won't interfere, hopefully. But I will time your asses out. Today ain't the day. I'm not in the mood. Just giving you forewarning. If that's me having a shitty attitude, fine, so be it. You've all been warned. All right, so first one we're going to look at is going to be that motion to suppress the IGG. Let me share screen. Hello, everyone. If you're just joining, thank you so much for being here. Welcome on in. Appreciate every single one of you. Go ahead, give it a thumbs up, thumbs it down, follow your heart, not your frown. All right, where is it? Okay, so it looks like it's this one, yeah. And this one's easy. It's only 2 pages. Some of these are only a couple pages, some of them aren't. So we should be able to get through it pretty quickly. Let's make this a little bit bigger for everyone. Go take myself out of the way. If my audio starts getting really bad, like throw up some red flags in chat or some shit, and I'll try and keep an eye on it. Yeah, exactly. Alligator, period. Exactly, period. I am not in the mood. Not today. Because of after what I've seen in the world, and it's not just with Charlie, you know? Um, that girl, Arena Zarutska, like to watch that happen. I have a daughter her age, and I literally was like, I can't believe it, you know? And you guys know me, I've always said, like, I try to really remain completely unemotionally involved in almost all of the things that I look at when it comes to crime. Because if you can't compartmentalize that, then you shouldn't even be looking at it from an emotional standpoint. That's not how you look at it. And when I watched that, I gotta tell you, even my, wretched little compartmentalized heart was just like, holy shit. I have a daughter her age that could have just literally been walking to her job. And that happens, right? And to me, it's just what's more disgusting about it is that this person shouldn't have even been on that train. And I don't mean her, I mean the offender. This person shouldn't have even been on that train. This person should have never been let out. The judge who let this motherfucker out on a promissory note that he would just come back for his court date should be removed from the bench. They should have all of their cases up for review. How many more people like this did this judge also release back into the fucking streets to prey on all of us? Know what I mean? So I don't know when the DOJ or whoever is going to start investigating these fucking judges, but it needs to happen like yesterday. All of these judges that are releasing these people back into the streets knowing damn well they are absolutely going to fucking offend again. They should be benched. Benched. No longer a judge. But that's just my opinion. What is the point in having the fucking laws if the judge isn't going to enforce them? The cops did their job. They arrested the fucking asshole. Can't blame the police for this one. The police did their job. They arrested this person repeatedly. And it's the judges who repeatedly let him back out. So when does it start happening that we start holding the judges accountable for when one of their offenders who's a multi-time felon that they've released back into the streets commits it? When do we put it on the judge and hold the judge accountable? They can't be fucking held accountable because of qualified immunity and bullshit like that. I'm talking civil suits. I'm talking families need to start suing these fucking people personally, just like they would with an airline, just like they would with a train if a train derails and kills a family member. Your fucking judge has derailed and got someone killed because the judge is derailing from the law. The judge is not following or applying the law. They're undermining it. You understand where I'm coming from here? When your judges are undermining the law and they're not actually enforcing it or applying it, they shouldn't be a fucking judge. So, anyways, that's just my opinion on things. I'm not a political person at all. I gave up politics a long time ago, but I got to tell you, something over the last few days has kind of, I feel that the little flame right now. So it's just this tiny little spark right now that's kind of starting again. And I don't want it to become inflamed again. I don't want it to be a full-on fire inside of me like it used to be, okay? Um, but I gotta tell you, over the last few days, oh boy, am I about to put back on my political hat. And I promise you, when I do, I'll probably end up losing about half of you off the rip, just so we're clear. And I'm okay with that if I do. When I do it, I'm doing it full well knowing I'll probably lose about half of you. And I'm okay with that because I literally don't care if I only have 10 fucking people. As long as I am speaking truth, I'm not catering to someone's feelings. I'm giving my honest, raw opinion on something. And I'm, no matter what, a fundamental constitutionalist. And that is never going to change ever. There isn't a single thing anyone can say to me that's going to make me stop being a fundamental constitutionalist ever. So let's get into this. Suzanne B, I just saw your comment. I don't even know what that means, but I think I kind of like it. Uh, I know, Dago. Thanks, darling. Well, you know what I mean, though. I'm just to a point now where I tried, I've always tried to just be like really chill. And anybody who's heard me even before I started doing lives and talking about, Kohberger's case, like, I went up on panels. You guys know, I think I debated pretty eloquently as best as I could, depending on who I was dealing with. Like when I was up on T Rev's panel and that crazy fucking bitch, Regina, wouldn't stop screaming over me and interrupting me. I finally did yell over this bitch and tell her to shut the fuck up. Yep, I sure did. But for the most part, I think I've always managed to debate people eloquently, with facts, with logic, with the documents, not with my emotions and my feelings. I will never debate you with my emotions or my feelings because your emotions and your feelings, unfortunately, they literally don't matter. That's going to hurt some people. That's going to sting. I know it stings. It's okay. Let it sting for a minute. It's okay. Rub the wound. Let it sting. Your feelings and your emotions will never, for me anyway, take precedent when it comes to talking about the rights of the accused. So when we're talking about true crime cases and the rights of the accused and the people accused of committing crimes, even the guy that shot Charlie Kirk, the motherfucker is innocent until proven guilty. I will defend that right all day. Even with him admitting to it, his family turning him in, we know clearly he's probably the person. I will still defend his right to being innocent until proven guilty. Know what I mean? So I hope that, just kind of, sorry, my brain's all over the road here. I just hope that helps people kind of understand where I'm coming from. Like the facts and the facts will always matter over feelings and emotions. I'm never going to take emotion over facts. It's just never going to happen. Ever, 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 ever. I'm so sorry. I'm built different. I was raised different. Okay. I was raised by sergeant in the Korean War. I have an entire military family, uncles who served. Do you get what I'm saying? Air Force, Marines. I spent a good decade of my life training every day with ex special forces, Marines, SWAT teams, shit like that. So I'm built different. I'm just different. I'm never going to relinquish any of my rights to tyrants because of their fucking feelings and their emotions. It's just never going to happen. So, okay, make sure that's big enough. Hopefully, you guys understand where I'm coming from here. It's just, I just feel like either this is going to change things for the better or it's going to change things for the worse. And I really am trying to be optimistic here and hope that what happened is actually going to change things for the better and people are going to start seeing everything for what it is. You're being played, you're being manipulated, you're being emotionally gaslit in so many different aspects, whether it's fucking politics, crime, whatever. And it's intentional. And it's because they know how easily triggered and how easily manipulated most fucking people are. And some are so indoctrinated and manipulated and brainwashed, they don't even realize they're being used as pawns in a fucking game. And it's sad. And I just hope they can all wake up out of their slumber very, very soon and realize that, We should never, ever, ever be applauding someone being sacrificed on live TV because they said words someone else didn't like. That is the most. That's ghoulish shit. I can understand why people say they're demonic. I can understand why people would say certain people from that side of the aisle are demonic. That is some demonic shit to take someone's life on live TV, don't you think? You just sacrificed a human being on live television for the world to see. I'd say that's fucking demonic. I can agree with that. That's some evil shit. It's weak. Exactly, Suzanne. It's weak and it's evil. In my opinion, you're weak. Just because you can't win a debate, just because nobody agrees with your points, just because people say things you don't like, just because somebody said something that hurts your feelings, too fucking bad. That's exactly what free speech is. Free speech doesn't just apply to speech that you like. The whole point of free speech is so that maybe, just maybe, speech that's controversial, speech that you might not like, that's the point of free speech, is so that that speech is still allowed, even if it's controversial, even if people don't like it. Too fucking bad. If you don't want to hear someone say something you don't like, no one's forcing you to listen. No one forced anybody to go to that college campus to listen to him speak. Nobody forces you to go listen to Charlie Kirk. Nobody forces you to go listen to anyone. You don't have to. Nobody forces you to watch this channel. Nobody forces you to watch Dago's channel or Willie's channel or Lana's channel. No one forces you. You choose to do that. And then if you want to cry about it because the person said something you didn't like because you chose to be there, go find a cry closet. Go paint a picture. Get a coloring book. Go hug your fucking service animal. Something. Okay? But if you support the killing of people because they say things you don't like, the only thing that I can say is you need to check yourself in to a mental facility. You need to ask for grippy socks, a padded room, a couple of milligrams of lorazepam, and then maybe don't come out for a little while until you can get your shit together. Because there's something wrong with you if mentally you're to a place where you're cheering the actual sacrifice of a human being on live television. There's something mentally wrong with you, and you need help. You need real help. You definitely don't need to be out with the rest of society buying firearms legally. Okay. You need a padded room and grippy socks and medication and a psychiatrist. That's literally what you need. So, now we can get into this. I think I feel a little better and got that off my chest. I'm just so and here's the thing, like, bro, I didn't even really follow Charlie Kirk. I'm not even subscribed to Charlie Kirk. I did subscribe after his death. I'm now subscribed. You know, I didn't even follow him before. I've heard him debate. I think he's an excellent debater. Same with Ben Shapiro. These are people that, when I was in the political sphere of things, yes, I enjoyed it for debate. They're excellent debaters. And if you ever want to learn how to really debate, um, they would be, in my opinion, a couple of the people you'd master class in debating. Um, but outside of that, I never really listened. And I got to tell you, that just kind of like, because in my opinion, it wasn't just like an attack on him, it was more an attack on our rights. It's an attack on free speech to me. That's what it symbolized. It symbolized that if you exercise your right to free speech, they'll kill you. And I've decided I literally don't give a fuck. I'm never gonna stop talking. Ever. If anything, I'm more emboldened to say all of the things that you tell me I can't fucking say. I'm now even more emboldened to say all of the thoughts that you tell me I'm not allowed to have just because you say I am not allowed to have them. You understand? So, to the people out there, if you hear this, I actually do like, I hate to say it, but God, I'm not even a super religious person, but I literally pray for the evil ass motherfuckers who are out here cheering the sacrifice of a human being on live TV for no reason at all other than they didn't like the things this person said. This person wasn't violent. This person never used violence. This person never promoted violence. All this person ever did was try to get people to come together to talk things out with each other in an adult, responsible, respectful manner. That's all he ever did. And they literally fucking killed him for it. And they're applauding it and they're celebrating it. And they are demented, evil motherfuckers who need their souls prayed for. They really do. They need their souls prayed for. They're corrupted. These are corrupted souls in human flesh, in my opinion. That's a corrupted soul. When you're cheering that your fucking president almost got taken out. I don't give a fuck who it is. Orange. I don't care if it's Orange Man, Obama, Biden. If you're cheering that your president of your country almost got assassinated, you're a corrupted human being. You're just corrupted. You need to fucking go soul search. Know what I mean? There's something mentally wrong with you. Grippy socks, padded room, immediately. Just my opinion. It's just my opinion. I don't know shit. Case I didn't tell any of you here, I don't know shit. No facts here. Don't listen to me. Okay. Now we can get into it. Now we can get into it. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm really like not upset about it. It's more of like a sadness, I guess you could say. It's more of like a sadness because I look at it like, wow, wow. So I thought they were going really hard when they were constantly fucking going for the Second Amendment with our rights, but now they're going for the first. Now they're actually they're going full on assault on the First Amendment, not just the second. Hmm. And I'm not going to hear it. There ain't a goddamn thing anybody can say to me about a gun. You're never going to change my mind on guns, ever, 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 for any reason ever. There's nothing you could say to me. But think of the children. Nope, nope, nothing anybody can say to me. Guns are not the problem. They never have been and they never will be. The people are the problem. The judges who let out psychopaths who have access to firearms, that's the problem. You understand? The people who obtain illegal firearms and use them to commit crimes, that's the problem. You will not infringe upon any of my fucking rights because some asshole out there doesn't know how to abide by the law. It's not my problem other people don't know how to abide by the law. I do. I abide by the law. I follow the law where I live. The Constitution is my permit. I don't need extra permits. I don't need extra anything. I had to go through a federal background check for all of my firearms, and all of my firearms have never gotten up and walked out of the house and killed anybody. Ever, ever, ever. They're specifically for the purposes of self-defense. It's how I choose to defend my home and my life and my liberty and my property. And because the government didn't grant me my Second Amendment right, the government can't fucking take it. You understand? Your rights don't come from government. So stop begging the government to infringe upon them. These motherfuckers didn't even give you your rights. Why you want them to infringe upon them? Why would you ever want the government ruling your life, telling you what to do? Didn't you fucking learn from Rona? Didn't we all learn from Rona why we don't want the government telling us what to do and we can just self-govern? Thank you very much. I'd rather self-govern. I don't consent to nobody governing me. None of y'all motherfuckers. With respect. Respectfully. Respectfully to all of my friends in chat. Love you. But I wouldn't consent to any of you governing me either, much less anybody else. All right. So, exactly, brutally honest, exactly. Bingo. Bingo. Okay, friends. All right, friends, enough of my bullshit. Enough of my rant. Enough of me. I don't know how much clearer I can make it other than I will never relinquish my rights to tyrants. That can be the caption of the video. I may even go back and just retitle the video that. I will never relinquish my rights to tyrants. And if you happen to be a fucking tyrant who wants to infringe upon my rights, it's never going to happen. I'm going to come at you like a motherfucking bear. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. And that's not a threat. I mean, figuratively, like, um, metaphorically. When it comes to the rights, that's something I'm going to fight forever and ever and ever and ever for us to maintain and for us to keep. And that's never going to stop. Okay, even in Kohberger's case, it's always been about the rights. And for anybody who hasn't been paying attention to me and you thought that, oh, Miss Potts, she thinks he's totally, totally innocent. And that's why, and blah, blah. Nope. I don't know how much clearer I can make it. Okay? I really don't know how much clearer I can make it. I've always, from the beginning of this case, said, from the moment I read the PCA, something's wrong. Something's very wrong, and I'm pretty sure they violated his rights in more ways than one. And that is why I have maintained my position and why I'm still talking about this case with all of the documents getting unsealed and everything, because it's clear the rights were violated. Does that mean he's innocent? Absolutely fucking not. It doesn't. And it doesn't matter because I don't give a fuck about Kohberger. It's not about Kohberger. It's about what is the government doing, violating the rights to do their job. Why does the government and the FBI, who have every resource at their disposal, need to violate the rights to get the guy? Why do they need to do that? That's the point. Why do you need to violate the rights in order for you to do your job that we're already paying you to do? Think about how much money the FBI takes of federal tax money every year to employ these motherfuckers. All of them. How much of our money is being used and they still can't do their job without violating the rights? Interesting. Very, very interesting. You're the FBI and you can't do your job without violating the rights of the people. Maybe you just suck at your job then. Maybe you just suck at your job then. If you can't investigate a fucking crime without violating someone's rights, how good are you? Really? Especially where you have all of these tools. You have all of these different agencies that will let you use all of their different technologies and software and this and that, and you can do it all fucking legally. But you still have to violate the rights, huh? Interesting. Very, very interesting. Oh my goodness. Beep beep. For fuck's sake, Fitziana. Hello, darling. I have been ranting for over an hour now. I think I started this live at like 12:30. I just need to shut up and start reading the documents, huh? Good afternoon, right brain. Always so good to see you, honey. Love seeing you. If I'm missing anybody, sorry. This is what happens when I keep running my mouth. I'll stop. Liv, hello. How are you? Welcome on in. Okay. All right, friends. Layla. Hi, honey. Layla. Got me on my knees, Layla. All right. Let's get into this. I got to take comment off the screen. Let's go read. All right, friends. So we're going to go take a little peeky-poo at the original motion to suppress the genetic information, and then we'll go from there for everything regarding IGG. Thanks again for being here. I can't see my chat when I'm in another window. Thank you guys, everybody, for your super chats, your super stickers. If you became a member, thank you so much. If you hit the Cash App, the Venmo, truly, truly amazing supporters. And I can't say thank you enough. I really can't. The done one. What up, the done one? Sarah, hello. All right, I'm going into another window, friends. Please, everybody, just stay respectful and kind to each other in chat. All right, so we have this only 2 pages. This is the original motion to suppress the genetic information from the defense. It was filed November 14th, 2024. It just says comes now, Brian C. Kohberger, by and through his attorneys of record, and moves to suppress all, all evidence illegally gathered by law enforcement using his genetic information. Okay. Now, yes, I completely understand that okay, Hitler has the opinion, nope, they did nothing wrong. Right? I get it. Hitler's like, even if, you know what Hitler likes to do, even if the FBI violated his rights, oh well. The state's already said they're not going to use anything to do with the IGG anyway. The sad point is we had to go through all of this before the state finally conceded, you know what? Actually, we won't even use the IGG. We'll just come up with a whole nother fucking way that we got to him. Just a tip. We don't even need to talk about IGG shit. But this is where it all started. Because the FBI and law enforcement illegally gathered evidence pertaining to his genetic information. You understand? Look at what she said. Notice how it's worded. Comes now by Brian C. Kohberger through his attorneys of record and moves to suppress all evidence illegally gathered by law enforcement using his genetic information. So they used his genetic information to illegally gather more evidence. You understand? That would mean you already have the genetic information. Yeah. If you use the genetic information to illegally obtain more evidence, wouldn't you always have to have the fucking genetic information first then? Jazz King. Hello, King. How are you? Welcome on in. Greg. Greg, I gotta tell you, I saw the first sentence and I was about to tell my mods to delete your comment. Glad I kept reading. That's right. I'm 100% for more gun control. 2 hands firmly gripping the gun. Practice, 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 and know your line of fire. Essential for great control of the gun. Agreed. Agreed, sir. Yeah, I spent a very good portion of my life daily on a range, just so we're clear, friends. I was a range girl for a very, very long time. It is what it is. Nothing like a range. Nothing like a range. All right. So, isn't that super interesting? So, back in November of 2024, what they're telling us here is that, hey, we want to suppress all of the evidence that was illegally gathered by law enforcement using his genetic information. Not they obtained his genetic information illegally. You understand? All evidence illegally gathered by law enforcement using his genetic information. This motion is made pursuant to the Fourth Amendment of the United States Constitution and Article 1, Section 17 of the Idaho Constitution. A memorandum and exhibits are filed contemporaneously in support under seal. This motion is being filed under seal pursuant to the Honorable Judge's previous order stating that pleadings related to this motion be filed under seal until the court could review the issues and arguments filed. The under seal memorandum and exhibits are being provided to opposing counsel and court staff via email on the date of this motion. So that one's easy. We can get rid of that one. Stop sharing, close that out. Now that was in November of 2024. And then I believe the next one was, let me get into it. Oh, that's right. And then in December, we had two stipulated motions on the IGG. Okay. So both parties, looks like December 20th, somewhere around there. It's dated December 20th. We have both. These are literally one page apiece. It's just stipulated motions. The links are in the video for you guys if you want to go look at them. I'm not going to bring them up. It's literally just like one page, 2 pages. But there are two stipulated motions. One was filed December 6th. The link is in the description. There's another one filed December 20th. Link is in the description. This is when both sides did their stipulated motion to seal their objections and whatever to defendant's exhibit to the motion to suppress the genetic information. So those are both there for you as well. That's the end of 2024. Now we get into 2025 and we end up with the first, what is it? It's this one, I think. Da, 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 da. Yeah, share this one with you. We're in the, sorry, friends, hang on 1 second. I probably have to refresh it or something. That's the order. Reply, that's a reply. State's response. There we go. Okay. Here we go. Okay, so then we have the defense's motion in limine to exclude the IGG evidence after December. We get into 2025. As you can see up here, make this bigger for you. Oopsie. My highlighter. As you can see right here, the date that it's filed, 2/24. This one's 17 pages, so buckle up. Like I said, some of these are like 1 or 2 pages, some of them are long. They're all linked in the description for anybody who wants to follow along. Okay. Good luck, Stone. Just coming back to chat, checking comments. Good luck. You got a job interview today last minute. Wish you luck. Well, all the luck in the world, sir. Ma'am. Whoever you are, Stone. Good luck. Good luck. Hope you get the job. Really, really do. Jazz King. Look at you. Thank you so very much for your super sticker. That was so, so nice of you. $10 super sticker contributing to the Goddess of Snark Coffee Fund. Well, thank you, sir, my king, as always. Thank you so much for being like one of my biggest supporters, truly, Jazz King. You're like one of my OGs. Just need you to know that. I think you're one of the first people who became a member too. So thank you so much. Truly appreciate you. Okay, so let's get into this one. This one's 17 pages. Hopefully my audio is going to hold up for us. Stone's a dude. Okay, thanks, Kane B. I've been told lately, don't assume. So I'm like trying, to be nice. Okay, fine, I won't assume, bitch. You know, I did say good luck, sir, because I did assume that Stone was a guy. Then again, I don't know. Some guys don't even want to. I don't know. I don't want to get into it. I don't want to get into it because it's just, I'll come unglued. I don't want to do it. Okay. Stone. Audio has been consistently good. Interesting. I think I'm in the clear. Yeah, well, you know what I did? I moved myself to the upstairs part of the house. I know that sounds so weird because, everything's been checked. It's all been checked. There's nothing wrong with anything. Mic, laptop, nothing. Internet, nothing. What I did do, though, is I kind of moved my little desk area to the upstairs part of the house. And all of a sudden, bam, just seems to be fine. So we'll keep our fingers and toes crossed and roll with it. All right. So let me roll my ass on over into this window here. Thanks everybody for being here. I can't see chat, okay? We're going to start reading. We have 17 pages, so let's get it crack-a-lackin'. Okay, so this was the motion in limine number 11 to exclude the IGG evidence. Comes now Brian C. Kohberger by and through his attorneys of record and pursuant to the Idaho Rules of Evidence moves this honorable court for an order to exclude evidence of IGG testing and searches. IGG testing and searches. The motion is based on the Idaho Rules 16b 1 through 8, and that presentation of such evidence would violate Mr. Kohberger's state and federal constitutional rights to a fair trial under the Fifth and 14th Amendments and his right to confront the evidence against him, right, confrontation clause, and to have competent counsel under the Sixth Amendment, right. Relevant facts. A knife sheath that was recovered at 1122 King Road on November 13th, 2022. The sheath was tested using standard DNA STR methods by the Idaho State Police. The profile was uploaded to the CODIS DNA database and resulted in no hits. The Moscow Police Department, with the assistance of the Idaho State Forensics Lab, transferred extracted DNA from Q11 to Othram Labs, located in Texas, on 11/22, 2022. Sick fucks. I'll say it. I don't even care anymore. I'll say it. Fucking demented. I don't care what anybody says. Do you know how sick and demented it is, in my opinion, that on 11/22? 11/22, huh? Hmm. Fucking weirdos. I don't need a booster, Annie. I'm not even on like Wi-Fi or nothing. I'm like hardline to my they already came and checked everything. It's nothing, it has nothing to do with me. It's not me, period. Everything has been checked. It is not me. It's a StreamYard thing or YouTube or both. I'm not sure. But isn't that interesting? Yes, they did. Absolutely, Lucy. MyHeritage stopped accepting uploads of digital profiles after this transcript was made public. Right. 100%. They sure did. Okay, so let's get back into this. So item Q11, right? So the only thing that was transferred to Othram Labs, so when you hear Kristen Middleman talking about they were able to create this profile off the sheath, no, it's a no, and it's always going to be a no because the sheath was never transferred to Othram, unless Othram is lying, because by all accounts from Moscow Police Department, Sergeant Blaker, ISP, no sheath was ever transferred to Othram Labs, only the sample was. And it was only the one sample from the sheath. They didn't take that other male sample that was extracted from the mix sample on the back of the sheath. That didn't go to Othram. You know, the male that's mixed in with the victim DNA on the back of the sheath, that male that's not Kohberger, that didn't go to Othram. No trees were built for that one, just so we're clear. So, item Q11 is allegedly Kohberger's single source male DNA profile found on the inside button snap of the sheath, right? That's Q11. Othram promised to preserve all of its work in this case in the engagement agreement and proceeded to test the Q11 DNA using SMP techniques. Othram generated a profile. See how it's air quote? Othram allegedly generated a profile, air quote, using SMP and begun building a family tree for Q11, looking for the closest relatives of the sample in commercial databases that allow law enforcement searches. On December 10th, 2022, Othram was asked to cease work on the case by the prosecutors, despite the fact that their genealogy investigation was incomplete. So I'm still confused as to how Othram solved the case if their work was incomplete and when they turned it over, when the prosecutors told them to stop their work, well, your work was incomplete. How'd you crack the case? If you never got the sheet, then your work was incomplete. Exactly how did you solve the case? How? Know what I mean? It just doesn't make sense to me. How can you claim that you cracked the case when you were told to stop the work and your work was incomplete when it was handed over? Just saying. Othram reported that they had identified a number of close relations to the knife sheath via searches of Family Tree DNA and GEDmatch Pro, and suggested that obtaining DNA samples from 3 individuals to further their investigation. Interesting. In an email directing the stop work, this is Matthew Gamet. I'm waiting on my shit from him. In an email directing the stop work, lab manager Matthew Gamet directed Othram to, quote, preserve the whole genome profile that you have generated on this case, any remaining DNA extract, any data generated on this case, and any other records Othram has on this case, and anything else laid out in the state contract with Idaho until the Moscow PD and Latah County POA communicate that such information does not need to be retained by Othram Labs. After Mr. Kohberger was charged, he swiftly requested discovery relating to the IgG testing and the family tree building that led to his arrest. Mr. Kohberger laid out the rationale for his request in his third motion to compel and a series of affidavits filed June 22nd, 2023. The state filed for a motion for protective order June 16th. I bet they fucking did. In advance of Mr. Kohberger's motion to compel. In the motion for protective order, the state drew a strong distinction between the work done by Othram to generate an SMP profile and the work done to generate a family tree from the SMP data, in effect arguing that the family tree building did not fall under the Idaho rules of discovery for a number of reasons. What have we always said here before, friends? Sidebar, sidebar. Your due process rights always trump evidentiary rules, right? Just always keep that in mind if you ever are going through anything in your life in a court case. Your due process rights always trump evidentiary rules, and that is Supreme Court settled precedent. The court should always find in favor of your due process right if the evidentiary rule would infringe upon your due process right. So when the court is considering looking at evidentiary rules and looking at due process rights, if for any reason there might be some conflict, the evidentiary rules are conflicting with your due process rights, the court should always rule in favor of your due process right. And if I'm wrong about that, I'm sure someone will come into the fucking comments later and tell me I'm wrong, but I don't think so. However, in this motion and during argument on the motion, the state conceded that the testing done by Othram to generate the SMP data fell under Idaho criminal rule, or ICR 16b5. ICR, is that Idaho criminal rule? Wait a minute. IRE is Idaho Rules of Evidence. ICR is Idaho criminal rule. Okay. Hmm. State conceded that the testing done by Othram to generate the SMP data fell under ICR 16b5 and stated, quote, "A private laboratory developed the SMP profile from the DNA on the K-bar knife sheath. As required by Rule 16b5, the state will produce the report that documents that DNA test." Cool. The court, after hearing testimony from a number of defense expert witnesses, found that the defense had met the threshold required to show at least some of the IGG information sought is material to the preparation of the defense, and issued an order for the production of, quote, "all of the IGG information in the possession, custody, or control of the state for an in-camera review." Order addressing IGG DNA and order for in-camera review looks like October 25th. Okay. On November 30th, 2023, the state provided materials to the court for review, along with the table of items. The listed items included FBI materials, ISP emails, Othram emails and documents, shipment of DNA profile documents, and ISP Othram contracts. The court ordered release of the majority of the materials, with the exception of the generic contract documents of the MOU between the ISP, MPD, and Latah County Prosecuting Attorney's Office and Othram. After review of these materials, Mr. Kohberger requested additional discovery materials in his 15th supplemental request relating to the work done by Othram and the FBI. Footnote 4, is it anything? No, of course it's not. He sought materials to encompass essentially all of the materials that are normally produced along with lab reports for scientific testing. The state objected. Mr. Kohberger filed his fifth motion to compel. In a hearing on May 30th, 2024, extensive expert testimony was again heard by the court as to the necessity of the material sought. The requested items included, among other things, raw data files for SMP testing, standard operating procedures, validation summaries, contamination logs, and bioinformatics programs and protocols. At the end of the testimony, the state, through Mr. Nye, argued the motion to compel. In a striking exchange, Mr. Nye represented to the court, quote, "The court makes the decisions, and so we complied with that order. And we reached out to the FBI and Othram and said, you got to give us what you have." We've talked a lot about, and we've referenced a letter from the FBI today. I thought the letter itself did a pretty good job laying out what they do and do not have, what they have access to and what they don't. We have talked to Othram. We've spoken to Othram since we have gotten this Exhibit N and provided these requests. And we are not in the position, for example, request 1 through 6. We are not fighting those. I'm not saying we are not going to turn those over. In my review, they fall pretty clear under the court's order. The issue is we go to Othram and show them these, and Othram says, we have given you everything. You have everything. Everything we have was given to the court and then provided to the defense. So there's nothing on the list that we are holding back because we think we have some justification. Items 1 through 6 in Exhibit N are the materials described above that pertain to the SMP DNA testing done by Othram Labs. Mr. Nye emphasized that Othram told the prosecution that as the specific request outlined items 1 through 6 of Exhibit N, quote, Othram is just telling us we don't have it, so there's nothing we can do. The court then inquired, so Othram has said, you've asked them, and they said, we've given you everything we have. Mr. Nye said, yes. Mr. Nye reiterated that the state knew that if the documents listed in Exhibit N 1 through 6 existed, the state had an obligation to turn those materials over to Mr. Kohberger along and with the rest of it. Quote, and with the rest of it, we are turning it over if it exists and if we have it. That's all. In the court's order related to the specific requests in Exhibit N, the court relied in toto. In toto. I laugh every time I see it, Jesus. In the court's order related to the specific requests in Exhibit N, the court relied in toto on the representations of the state, specifically referencing Mr. Nye's statement about items 1 through 6. Quote, the state indicated that the material sought in this request does not exist. On January 23rd, 2025, a hearing was held before this court regarding the suppression of the DNA IgG in Mr. Kohberger's Frank's proffer hearing. During that hearing, Matthew Gamet testified regarding the state's relationship with Othram, the contracting process, and specific information about the IgG work done by Othram prior to its SMP data being passed to the FBI. Prior. Mr. Gamet was involved in the original process that led to the IgG contract with Othram, which involved coming up with specifications for the scope of work for the contract. Mr. Gamet specifically testified, quote, manuals, protocols were provided back to us as part of the bid, end quote. Mr. Gamet also testified that the contract with Othram, quote, it specifies that they would keep any data or other things associated with that. And so in this case, I don't know if they have other data or other records that they have kept, that they have retained. We asked them as part of the termination in this case of our work that they would preserve those things or that they would communicate with both the prosecutor's office and with the Moscow Police Department if any of that information was to be disposed or whatnot. End quote. Mr. Gamet stated that protocols and procedures were received from Othram in 2021 during the bidding process he believed would likely exist. In response to the new revelations in Mr. Gamet's testimony that the state had in its possession the protocols of the lab through the contracting process as well as other significant materials, Mr. Kohberger filed his 22nd discovery request on January 28, 2025, requesting multiple items relating to Mr. Gamet's testimony. In its response, dated February 11, 2025, the state objected to a number of items. For purposes of this motion, the state response to request numbers 424 and 425 raises the specter of prosecutorial misconduct. Let's read this again. In its response, dated February 11, 2025, the state objected to a number of items. For purposes of this motion, the state response to request numbers 424 and 425 raises the specter of prosecutorial misconduct. Mr. Kohberger specifically requested, quote, all Othram lab protocols, policies, and procedures and validation studies in place in December 2022, as testified about by Matthew Gamet on 1/23/2025, as well as all bench notes, electronic data files, photographs, and quality records. The state objected to this request in particular as being untimely and stated that, quote, the court did not require the state to produce any of the other bidding documentation, including Othram's bid submission that discussed Othram's accreditation status, other customers, past cases, the name and qualifications of the primary genealogist, the name and qualifications of the chief scientist, and the standing operating procedures or analytical methods that were to be used. This was the first time the defense had been made aware of the contents of the material provided to the court for the in-camera review. Had Mr. Kohberger known that the materials contained the information described, he certainly would have sought the specific listed information. Because Mr. Kohberger did not know the materials provided to the court included references to SOPs and analytical methods, and because Mr. Nye affirmatively represented that Othram had no such documentation, Mr. Kohberger did not ask the court to reconsider its order regarding production of the materials after the in-camera review or at the hearing on May 30th. Most troubling, actually, let's read footnotes 5 and 6 first. These items are essentially identical to items 1 through 6 from Exhibit N, filed in support of Mr. Kohberger's fifth motion to compel. So everything he was asking for that Nye kept saying, no, 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 Othram don't have it, we don't have it, da, 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 da. What do you mean? Nobody has it. It's all shit they already asked for. And then Matthew Gamet got up there and testified about it. Most troubling is the last statement in the state's February 11, 2025 objection that while the materials provided to the court for review contain references to the SOPs were inadvertently excluded from the materials. Oopsie. Oopsie. Most troubling is the last statement in the state's February 11, 2025 objection that while the materials provided to the court for review contained references to the standard operating procedures, those standard operating procedures were, quote, inadvertently excluded from the materials, end quote. Oopsie. Our bad. Sorry, Your Honor. We meant to give you those. Oopsie. Consequently, the court was misled about the materials reviewed in camera, resulting in deprivation of clearly discoverable documentation. The state objects to the production of materials that it conceded in 2023 Mr. Kohberger was entitled to. Right. So the state has already conceded in 2023 Mr. Kohberger's entitled to this information, but then they also object to the production of the fucking materials to the defense, while they also hide those same materials from the court, even though they have them. They're just oopsie poopsie inadvertently excluded from the materials given to the court. And now you see why you should always question what you're being told, why you should never just blindly believe what the government tells you. Just 6 days later, on February 17, 2025, in its expert witness rebuttal, the state provided a disclosure for David Middleman. Oh, well, there he is. Middleman is the CEO of Othram Labs. The proposed testimony concerns the testing done by Othram to generate the SMP profile. The proposed testimony covers the testing methods used by Othram, validation and quality standards. All of these topics were covered in Mr. Kohberger's fifth motion to compel. So you're calling David Middleman to literally, as a expert rebuttal witness, you want to call David Middleman to come and talk about all of the things that you're claiming you don't have after you've been compelled to turn it over. So the defense compels you to turn these things over. You say, "Oh my God, so sorry, Anne, we don't have that. Stop. Stop harassing us, Anne. You keep asking us for things we don't have. We already told you we don't have it." Well, if you don't have it, how the fuck are you calling this guy up to talk about it? How's he going to come talk to you about all the things you don't have? How is he going to come talk to you about all the things that don't exist? Know what I mean? How? I'm just coming back over to chat, friends. How's everybody doing over here? Oh, typically unique. Hello, darling. Mar R. Good to see you as always. How are you? Haven't seen you in forever. Stevie Irwin. Hello, Meanie. Hello. Sorry if I'm missing anybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome on in, everybody. Happy Saturday. Hope everybody's having an awesome day. I don't mean to miss anyone. If I did. So isn't that interesting? They're calling Middleman up as an expert rebuttal witness to come and talk about all of the fucking things they already said they don't have. But hey, Middleman, we need you to come and back us up on this, okay? Come back us up on all of this, even though we told them it don't exist and we don't fucking have it. We're gonna need you to come back us up. Krista, darling, hello, honey. How are you? Always so good to see you. Hopefully my audio is holding up for us, friends. Typically unique, you're cooking Puerto Rican rice for 100 people with one arm. Oh my God. I'm so sorry to hear that, but I want Puerto Rican rice now that you said that. I literally could live off rice and beans and roasted veggies. Love it, love it, love it, love it. I hope you're having a great Saturday cooking. Now I want fucking Spanish rice, man. Thanks, typically unique. Now I'm gonna have to go get some Spanish rice later or make some. My brain will be stuck on that all day long. Right. Well, here's the problem, Red Riding Hood. It's not that they wouldn't give them the lab protocols. The problem is that the lab protocols and the standard operating procedures and all of that did exist. Okay. And even though the court ordered the state to produce that, and the state did produce it, conveniently, those specific things just happened to be inadvertently left out. Meanwhile, they're trying to summon these expert rebuttal witnesses to say, no, no, see, this is how it all is. This is all stuff that they had when it was requested by the defense. It existed. It was in their possession. It was in Othram's possession. It was in the state's possession. And they tried to claim they didn't have it. And then because Middleman comes up and testifies, and Middleman is like, not Middleman, Gamut. Oopsie. Gamut slips up under oath. Yeah, no, we did have it as of this date, which is why this defense immediately filed their motion to compel. and their 22nd supplemental response, supplemental request. They filed that because after Gamut gives this testimony, they're like, wait a minute, what do you mean you had that? You had all of this information then? Because that's when we requested it, and these motherfuckers told us they didn't have it. They said it didn't exist. You saw it, Gamut? You've actually seen this documentation? Matthew Gamut. Awesome. Thank you, sir. Great. We asked them for it, and they said it didn't fucking exist. So someone's lying, right? Who is it? Is it Gamut from ISP? Is it Othram Labs? Is it the state? Is it all three? I don't know. Someone is. Chad T, look at you. Always good to see you. Welcome on in. Yeah. Well, exoneration, who knows? It comes a long time later, unfortunately. Unfortunately. Sometimes it'll take someone 30, 40, 50 years, 30, 40 years before they end up exonerated. This isn't even about Brian for me, guys. I hope you guys understand that. I know there are so many of you. It's all, it's about Brian. For me, it's not about Brian. It's about the rights. That's it. It's my only concern is the rights. How they were violated, when they were violated, how many times, which ones, why. The rights should not need to be violated for you to do your job as an investigator and catch the bad guy. Never mind the fact that there is another man's DNA mixed in with victim DNA on the back of this sheet that's not Kohberger's. And they have not bothered to identify or build a tree for that DNA. They have not bothered to identify or build a tree for the other male DNA collected from various spots at the crime scene that they compared to Kohberger, and it didn't match him, and they compared it to these other alternate suspects, and it didn't match them. Whose motherfucking DNA is that? And why aren't you trying to find out whose DNA that is? Male blood B that's unknown, male blood D that's unknown. Whatever the male DNA is mixed with the victim DNA on the back of the sheet. How do you have three, till this day, almost 3 years later, you still have 3 to 4 unknown DNA in your crime scene? How the fuck is that even possible? Why isn't the middleman's, why isn't Othram offering to build those trees for free? No charge. Since they're all about true justice, catching the real people and making sure everyone involved in a crime is charged. How come Othram is not offering to test that other male DNA and build a tree for it? Where's the SNP profile and the tree for the other male DNA that's mixed in with the victims? Where is it? Where are the trees? Kristen, David, Mr. and Mrs. Middleman, why aren't you offering to build the trees? Just questions. Because what's sick to me is all of them fucking know. All of them know. There is other male DNA on that fucking sheet that isn't Kohberger's. There's other male DNA on the victims that isn't Kohberger's. There's other male DNA in very pertinent parts of that crime scene that isn't fucking Kohberger's, including what appears to be another man's blood. There's another man bleeding in that crime scene, and they all know it, and they've all done absolutely nothing to identify that fucking person. Okay? Kohberger says he was there, great. He doesn't want to talk about who he was with, fine. Build a tree. Build a tree and figure out who that DNA belongs to and charge that fucking person accordingly. That person should be sitting in the cell next to Kohberger. You understand? That's where my head's at. Okay? That's where my head's at. My head is in the space that all of the other men, if it's multiple or just one, I don't know, but whose ever other blood that is, all over the crime scene that isn't Ethan's and isn't Kohberger's, figure out whose the fuck it is. Okay? Enough of this bullshit. They all need to be charged, every single person involved. And I don't care who it is, and I don't care whose family it makes look bad, and I don't care. I literally don't. Fact of the matter is, there are crime scene samples that were compared to other men and Kohberger, and they don't match either. So that's how you know they have an unidentified male profile in the mix somewhere here that isn't Kohberger's, and it is it's not Ethan's. It's not the victim's. Or else they wouldn't be bothering to compare it to all of these different male suspects. It was not just single source male DNA found on that sheet. No matter how many fucking times they say it. Okay? The middlemans know that. They all know that. The state has so much conceded as much in their latest freshly unsealed filing for their objection to the offers of proof regarding the alternate perpetrators. The state has been very well aware for a very long time there is another male or males, blood and or other DNA collected off these victims and in this crime scene that doesn't match Kohberger and it doesn't match their other fucking suspects. It's still unknown, along with male blood B and male blood D. Let that shit marinate. Let that shit marinate. They didn't identify it. Not that we're aware of, not in any of these documents that we're seeing. None of it has been identified. It's all still unknown. So that's super interesting. Exactly, Tattoo Gal. We haven't even gotten a damn picture of the sheath yet. Not one. And I even put in a specific request to ISP for only photographs of the sheath and body cam, any video and or photographs of the sheath. Just the sheath. That's all I want. Just the sheath. Pictures of the sheath, video of the sheath. I put in a whole separate request just for that. Yeah, I know, right, Mar? I don't know. We probably won't ever get it. I haven't even gotten a response back from ISP Lab yet regarding that one. Yeah, well, I have my, yeah, Dago. Yeah. I do have my request in for the 7,000 Liz Q 360 crime scene pics. I put a request in for that a couple weeks ago, and Matthew Gamet got back to me. He said that they're waiting for the decision, whatever goes on with the restraining order, okay, for the TRO. So once the decision comes in for that, things are still going to have to be redacted, but for the most part, we probably won't even have to pay for those 7,000 photos that were done with the LizQ software. I think they're probably going to end up uploading that as well, just to a link where everybody can click on. Because he didn't even give me a price estimate for it. He just told me in his response email that depending on what happens with the TRO that's in place regarding the photographs and stuff. So I guess they're going to have to redact. I'm not sure. But we're waiting. Don't you worry. I have a request in from weeks ago for those Liz Q 360. I did a separate request just for that, just for those 7,000 photos. Then I also did a separate request for all photos of the sheath and pertaining to the sheath. So hopefully we'll get those soon. Okay, so let's get over here. This is their argument. Here we go. I'm not going to read through this whole thing. I am just going to highlight a couple things because it's what I've been saying for a very long time. Under the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment, criminal prosecutions must comport with prevailing notions of fundamental fairness. We have long interpreted this standard of fairness to require that criminal defendants be afforded a meaningful opportunity to present a complete defense. To safeguard that right, the court has developed what might loosely be called the area of constitutionally guaranteed access to evidence. Constitutionally guaranteed access to evidence. California v. Trumbetta. Quote, suppression by the prosecution of evidence favorable to the accused upon request violates due process, where the evidence is material, either to guilt or to punishment, irrespective of the good faith or bad faith of the prosecution. Okay, so let's get down through here. We don't need to go through all that. Let's get up here. In this case, the question of whether the state has withheld or concealed evidence specifically requested by Mr. Kohberger is evident in the record as laid out above. Knowing that Mr. Kohberger was seeking such evidence, the state, in bad faith, failed to produce the evidence it concealed. Oh, sorry. The state, in bad faith, failed to produce the evidence it conceded Mr. Kohberger was entitled to as early as 2023, and now for the first time has informed Mr. Kohberger in this court that some of the material sought was in their possession in 2023. See, so we had it, but oopsie, oopsie, we didn't produce it. Our bad. God, Anne, why are you getting so upset? What's the problem? It was just a mistake, Anne. A Brady violation. The basic tenet of Brady stands to this day. Quote, the suppression by the prosecution of evidence favorable to an accused upon request violates due process, where the evidence is material, either to guilt or punishment, irrespective of the good faith or bad faith of the prosecution. Brady v. Maryland. So Brady here, right? The basic tenets of Brady v. Maryland, are literally cited from what we just read up here. Supreme Court, right? Constitutionally guaranteed access to evidence. California v. Trumbetta. Suppression by the prosecution of evidence favorable to the accused upon request violates due process, where the evidence is material either to guilt or to punishment, irrespective of the good faith or bad faith of the prosecution. Right? Oh, sorry, that's Youngblood, maybe. My bad. Arizona v. Youngblood. Right? So isn't that interesting? Brady is actually quoting here. Brady quotes it. Isn't that interesting? Okay, let's get back down here. Da, 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 da. Here, Mr. Kohberger repeatedly requested materials related to IGG, and the court found that he had made a showing of materiality as to the records sought through discovery requests and motions to compel. The court held 2 hearings on Mr. Kohberger's motion to compel. In its first order, dated November 13th, 2022, I think it's supposed to say 2023, Judge of the Latah County District Court, after hearing evidence, issued an order explaining that Mr. Kohberger had established sufficient evidence at the hearing to meet, quote, the low threshold of materiality for at least some of the IGG information sought. The focus of the order was on the second bucket of material identified by both Mr. Kohberger and the state, noting that, quote, according to the state, the rule only requires the disclosure of the results of the reports themselves. In this case, the STR DNA profile and the SMP DNA profile created from the K-bar knife, end quote. The focus of the order was on the second bucket of material identified by both Mr. Kohberger and the state, noting that, quote, according to the state, the rule only requires the disclosure of the results or reports themselves. In this case, the STR DNA profile and the SMP DNA profile created from the K-bar knife. End quote. And quote, it is undisputed that the SMP profile itself is the result of a scientific test done on evidence in this case. End quote. Acknowledging that the state had conceded under Rule 16b-5, it was required to produce the results of the testing done by Othram. The court then conducted an in-camera review of the totality of the IgG material provided by the state concerning the construction of the family tree by Othram and then the FBI. The court ordered the production of essentially all of the reviewed material, with the exception of certain documents pertaining to the contract between Othram and the state. The state provided test results in the form of two large text files, one identified as being the data produced by Othram, and the second as the data produced by the FBI. Still not having received the promised material regarding the SMP testing conducted by Othram, Mr. Kohberger renewed his request for the material in his 15th supplemental discovery request and filed his 5th motion to compel discovery. A hearing was held in the Latah County District Court on May 30th, during which the state reiterated that Mr. Kohberger was entitled to the requested material, but that the requested material did not exist. The requested material was laid out in Exhibit N and included all bench notes, electronic data, protocols, SOPs, contamination logs, and validation summaries. During the most recent hearing before this court, Mr. Gamet testified that during the contracting process, the state had received at least the protocols for testing from Othram, and the materials most likely were still in the state's possession. Mr. Kohberger renewed his request for the production of this material in light of Mr. Gamet's testimony in his 22nd discovery request. In request number 424, Mr. Kohberger requested, quote, all Othram lab protocols, policy, and procedures, and validation studies in place in December 2022, as testified about by Matthew Gamet on 1/23/2025, to which the state responded. Othram's protocols and procedures in the context of the bidding process, the documents related to the bidding were included in referenced in the materials provided to the court to review in camera. The court required the state to discover only the MOU from the bidding documents. Quote, the state need only discover pages 99 through 103. The remaining contract documents are not relevant to any issue in the case. The court did not require the state to produce any of the other bidding documentation, including Othram's bid submission that discussed Othram's accreditation status, other customers, past cases, the name and qualifications of the primary genealogist, the name and qualifications of the chief scientist, and the SOPs or analytical methods that were to be used. Though the SOPs were inadvertently excluded from materials reviewed in camera, the bidding document references the SOPs were included, and the court did not require disclosure of that document or the SOPs. If the defense thought it should have access to any of the protected materials, the proper procedure would have been to move the court to reconsider its decision on the protective order, and the proper time would have been prior to the defense's deadline for discovery motions. This objection is incomprehensible in light of the state's concession that the material requested in Request 424 was for materials that the state has repeatedly conceded were discoverable under Rule 16b-5, and assuring the court on May 30th, 2024, that the state understood its obligation to produce. Not until February 2025 did Mr. Kohberger learn that the state had possession of minimally the SOPs and protocols requested in their fifth supplemental motion to compel. Why did the state not alert the court at the hearing on May 30th that in part the materials sought by Mr. Kohberger were included in the material provided for the in-camera review on October 2023? Right, he's been asking for this shit since 2022, right? Something like that? No, that even sound right? Yeah, no, immediately. Most troubling, why did the state represent that the materials from Othram did not exist, when in fact at least some of these materials requested were in the possession of the Latah County Prosecutor's Office? Idaho Rules of Professional Conduct 3.3a requires that a lawyer may not make, quote, a false statement of fact or law to a tribunal, or fail to correct a false statement of material fact or law previously made to the tribunal by a lawyer. So don't give a false statement of fact to the judge, and if you do, you better quickly come back and correct the false statement that you made. Strike that, Your Honor. I need to amend what I said, Your Honor. Right? I need to amend that. I need to strike that. Your Honor, I did not mean to give you a piece of information that was incorrect, that was not factual. Let me strike that. Let me amend that. Whatever. This is the Idaho Rules of Professional Conduct 3.3. It requires that a lawyer not make, quote, a false statement of fact or law to a tribunal, or fail to correct a false statement of material fact or law previously made to the tribunal by the lawyer. In addition, the state seems to imply that Mr. Kohberger had a duty to ask the court to reconsider the decision regarding the material review in camera without knowing the materials sought were contained in the reviewed materials. How are we supposed to ask the court to reconsider anything when we had no idea what you produced to the court in camera even fucking existed? Because you told us it didn't, asshole. In addition, the state seems to imply that Mr. Kohberger had a duty to ask the court to reconsider the decision regarding the material reviewed in camera without knowing that the materials sought were contained in the reviewed materials, something the state now acknowledges and did not disclose. As noted in the state's response, not only was the SOP itself, quote, inadvertently, end quote, not provided for the review, but the inventory supplied to the court and Mr. Kohberger listed the materials in the most generic terms as, quote, ISP Othram contract documents, end quote. The state's response appears disingenuous by essentially hiding the existence of the requested material under an innocuous and generic title, and not informing the court that at least a portion of the documents requested were actually already in the possession of the court in the form of the in-camera submission. The state then falsely claimed that none of those documents requested existed. The state's objection to the timelines of this request is not well taken because Mr. Kohberger only learned for the first time in January 2025 that the materials sought in his third and fifth motions to compel were in the possession of the state after representations that these materials did not exist and that in fact the Latah County Prosecutor's Office had been in possession of a portion of those materials as early as late 2023. The same argument applies to Mr. Kohberger's request 425, 424, 425. Othram lab materials created, collected, or held pursuant to the policy and protocol in place as testified to by Matthew Gamet on 1/23/2025. This request includes, but not limited to, all bench notes, original electronic data files, photographs, quality records, including positive and negative controls, and degradation and contamination documents, bioinformatic methods, and documents related to the case file. That's your case file. And request 426. All documents and records produced to the FBI, including but not limited to, documents and records from Othram, Moscow Police Department, Idaho State Police, and the Latah County Prosecutor's Office. So all documents and records produced to the FBI, including but not limited to documents and records from all of these motherfuckers. It's not just limited to them either. All of it, everything, all documents and records, right? That's what it means. All, everything you have, not what you feel like giving, not when you get around to it, not, oh, we'll only produce it for the court in camera where you can't see it. Nope. And nope. Finally, on February 17th, 2025, the state produced a disclosure for rebuttal witness David Middleman of Othram Labs. Middleman will testify about the methods, validations, and quality systems in place at Othram, among other topics. All of these topics are covered by the requests for discovery made in the third and fifth motions to compel. If Middleman is allowed to testify, Mr. Kohberger would be unable to effectively confront his testimony, given that the dearth of documents regarding the lab testing. Given the dearth of documents regarding the lab testing, counsel for Mr. Kohberger would be ineffective, given the timing of this disclosure and the topics raised in the disclosure. As Middleman points out, any credible opinion that Mr. Kohberger might seek would require an expert witness with extensive direct experience with SMP testing and FIGG to speak to the highly technical aspects of the testing and FIGG analysis. Mr. Kohberger is prejudiced, as set forth below. The Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment requires the state to disclose the criminal defendant's favorable evidence that is material either to guilt or punishment. The Due Process Clause requires, quote, that criminal defendants be afforded a meaningful opportunity to present a complete defense. To safeguard that right, the court has developed what might loosely be called the area of constitutionally guaranteed access to evidence. Idaho Supreme Court announced a test for determining when a defendant's due process rights have been violated by the state's loss or destruction of allegedly exculpatory evidence. The Idaho Supreme Court announced a test for determining when a defendant's due process rights have been violated by the state or loss or destruction of allegedly exculpatory evidence has occurred by the state. This is your test. 1, whether the evidence was material to the question of guilt or the degree of punishment, and 2, whether the defendant was prejudiced by the loss or destruction of the evidence, and 3, whether the government was acting in good faith when it destroyed or lost the evidence. We have recognized that the Supreme Court's subsequent decision in Youngblood consolidated these three factors in cases where the destroyed evidence is of unknown value. Quote, through its reasoning that materiality and prejudice to the defense can be presumed where the government acts in bad faith. Materiality. In this case, the court has already found that the IgG materials are material. The state has conceded that the testing from Othram falls under Rule 16b-5, requiring that the state produce the material. Prejudice. As set forth above, Mr. Kohberger has requested materials relating to IgG testing in two motions to compel, and in response to both motions, the state has conceded that materials relating to the testing conducted by Othram are discoverable under Rule 16b-5. Despite this, Mr. Kohberger sits in an untenable position. Discovery is closed. Expert disclosures have been exchanged. The time for filing motions to dismiss is past. In limine motions are being filed, and trial is rapidly approaching. Mr. Kohberger's motion to suppress and Frank's are impacted by the failure to timely produce discovery, as these materials may have provided information relevant to the issues presented, particularly to what information Othram obtained via its testing. Additionally, the state now has noticed witness David Middleman, CEO of Othram, who will testify in quote rebuttal to Mr. Kohberger's IgG witnesses. The proposed testimony covers topics such as validation, policy and lab protocols, and quality measures. All of these topics were covered in Mr. Kohberger's discovery requests. Mr. Kohberger is left in the position of not being able to cross-examine Middleman effectively due to the complete lack of discovery of the material requested. The prejudice to Kohberger is clear. Even if the court orders production of the materials sought at this late date, Mr. Kohberger is significantly handicapped. Had Mr. Kohberger received these materials in a timely fashion in 2023, he would have been able to utilize the materials for motion work and consultation with experts and be prepared to proceed to trial. Here, bad faith is evident, and materiality and prejudice should be presumed. The state, after conceding that they were required to turn over the testing conducted by Othram, failed to do so. When pressed at the May 30th, 2024 hearing on the existence of the material sought, the state affirmatively stated that the material did not exist. Mr. Kohberger has just learned that during the hearing, the state did have at least a portion of the requested material. They had the lab policies and protocols and the standard operating procedures. The state knew in May 2024 that while they had failed to provide the court with the actual SOP, that the court had substantial material in its possession that would in part have satisfied Mr. Kohberger's request. Stop here. Read footnote 8. One of the state's arguments regarding the motion to suppress is that the state did not have access to SMP data relevant to medical information. One of the key arguments in Mr. Kohberger's motion. The documents from Othram could have bolstered Mr. Kohberger's arguments. Documents from Othram could have bolstered Mr. Kohberger's argument that his SMP data accessed medical information of his. Right? One of the state's arguments regarding the motion to suppress is that the state is claiming we didn't have access to SMP data relevant to medical information. No, 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 no. The defense is saying, actually, if we had those documents from Othram, it would have bolstered Mr. Kohberger's argument that, in fact, the state did have access to the SMP data that also provided the medical information. The state had a duty to inform the court, but instead misled the court into believing that the materials did not exist and were not in the possession of the state. These circumstances have given the state an evidentiary advantage because of their failure to be fully candid with the court during the discovery process. Let's read that again. These circumstances have given the state an evidentiary advantage because of their failure to be fully candid with the court during the discovery process. This is especially true in that the state now intends to call a witness from Othram Labs who can only be effectively cross-examined with the material sought by Mr. Kohberger and concealed by the state. In doing so, the state has hidden or perhaps caused to be destroyed material evidence necessary for Mr. Kohberger to present a full defense. Let's fucking read this again. This is especially true in that the state now intends to call a witness from Othram Labs who can only be effectively cross-examined with the material sought by Mr. Kohberger that was concealed by the state. In doing so, the state has hidden or perhaps caused to be destroyed material evidence necessary for Mr. Kohberger to present a full defense. This type of conduct violates both federal and state due process rights. How many times? Sidebar. Snapping suicide bar. How many fucking times have I said? How many times has Anne said? And I've pointed out. She has always argued from the very beginning due process violation. She has stated it repeatedly, repeatedly, over and over. She is arguing it as a due process violation. It started as a due process violation and snowballed from there, in my opinion. In my opinion. Okay. This type of conduct violates both federal and state due process rights. In order to even the playing field, the court should sanction the state, even if the requested discovery is produced. Right. Even if they decide to produce it now with their, oh, oopsie poopsie, we didn't mean to not include it, oopsie poopsie. We'll give it to you now. We'll give it to you now. We didn't mean to hide it. We can give it to you now. No, bitch. It should be tossed and you should be sanctioned. I agree with that wholeheartedly. We all know none of this happened. It doesn't matter. This is what Hitler should have done. All of these things Hitler should have done. You know, in my opinion, his job was to sandbag them. His job was to put them in this quicksand, leave them there. They could never get out. And that's what happened. And that's just my opinion. Even if the discovery is reproduced, sanction these motherfuckers anyway, Your Honor. The state has benefited by the taking of testimony of Mr. Kohberger's witnesses at the January 23rd, 2025 hearing, as well as Mr. Kohberger's timely production of expert disclosures regarding their intended testimony at trial. Given the posture of this case, the conduct of the state in hiding the evidence, and the late disclosure of Middleman as an expert, Mr. Kohberger seeks to exclude all evidence of the IGG work and does not intend to call the witnesses Leah Larkin and Daniel Hellwig. Furthermore, if Mr. Kohberger does not call Larkin or Hellwig, Middleman's testimony is no longer rebuttal. It would have to be presented in the state's case in chief. The late disclosure and failure to produce the requested discovery violates not only Idaho law, but also the order of this court regarding discovery and expert disclosure deadline, as well as Mr. Kohberger's due process and confrontation rights. The court should exclude all reference to the IGG process from SMP testing to the construction of the family tree. Footnote 9, if the court denies this motion to exclude IGG, then Mr. Kohberger may be required to call these witnesses as rebuttal witnesses to Middleman. Conclusion, Mr. Kohberger's motion should be granted. Additionally, the court should sanction the state by excluding the IGG evidence in the form of the testimony of Middleman based on their violations of the court's order regarding discovery sanctions and its bad faith behavior in concealing evidence that it knew was required to be discovered that it had in its possession. Such a serious sanction is warranted in the face of the state's conduct and to remedy the prejudice to Mr. Kohberger. Remedy the prejudice, right? Because you've continuously violated his rights in order to prejudice him over and over and over again. And the only way you can remedy that prejudice is by holding the state accountable, sanctioning their fucking ass, and suppressing the things they keep trying to hide that they want to bring in last minute. Suppress it. Get it out. All right, let me stop sharing that. There's a reason why we're reading through all these, friends. I just wanted to do a little Peeky-Poo review of everything related to IGG since we've had all of this talk of Othram, Middlemans, blah, blah, blah. Let me stop sharing that one. Come back over to chat. Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome on in. Coming back to chat now. Let me come and say hi. Hopefully I'm not missing anyone. Joanna, hello. Roxy, hello. Hi, Bo. Hi, honey. How are you? Good to see you. Mar R is not a troll. Mar R is definitely not a troll. Mar R is an OG, also been around for a long time. Everybody, please stay kind in chat. I don't think anybody here is a troll. I think I said it, if I remember correctly. I set my chat that you have to be a subscriber anyway of the channel for like 10 minutes or longer or something. So no, Mar's not a troll. Mar's OG, been around for a while. Everybody stay nice, please. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so that was from them. And we have the state's motion in limine, also regarding investigative genetic genealogy. And if anybody, I'm so very sorry if you like, I can't see my comment section, guys, when I'm reading another window here. So I'm sorry if I missed you or if you're trying to get my attention and I can't see you. My bad. Thank you, everybody, for your super chat, your super sticker. I think somebody hit the Cashapp. I heard it ding. Thank you so very much. Very kind of you. I'm afraid if I put my phone too close to me, it's going to interfere with my mic. So I'm afraid to go look at it. Whoever that was, thank you so very much. I truly appreciate you. Let's go to this one. So this is the state's state's motion in limine regarding the IGG. Make this bigger. This one's only 8 pages, so probably be a little bit quicker to get through this one. And then I don't even know how many more we have after this, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to do them all because I got to go to work too. I still got to go to my job. I don't know if we're going to be able to get through all of these, friends. I may have to pick this back up like later tonight and just round it out or something because I ran my mouth for too long in the beginning of this live, and because I did that, yeah, it cut into my time of reading these. So sorry, friends. Don't know if I'm going to be able to get through all of these. However, they all are linked, okay, in the description if you want to go read them yourself. Okay. You're welcome, Mar, honey. Yeah, nobody be mean to Mar. Don't worry. Mar's OG, been around for a long time, just as long as the rest of us, just as long as me. Okay, Mar used to mod for T-Rev when I was up on T-Rev's panel, having people tear my fucking throat out. Okay, so And Mar pretty much always had my back, gotta say. So thanks, Mar, for always staying one of those neutral people. Okay? Appreciate you. I really do. Hope you know that. I know, Mar R. Don't you worry. Too fast, you're still here. You're so pretty. Okay. So, well, I think what we're gonna do is maybe like these 8 pages, and then I can always try to come back like later on after work because I still have a whole other job to go to, guys. Okay. Like I still work a lot. I work like crazy. And then in between work, I try to bring you guys some lives while I'm in between jobs, while I'm in between homeschooling. I have a very, very busy life. Okay. Just so you know. So I just want you to know that I promise I tried to get here when I can and keep it as informationally packed as I can in like a short amount of time. Hopefully, I'm able to do that for you. That is the goal here, pretty much. So, yes, agree. Lucy, darling, it is an honor. You know what I do. I like highlight the comment. I pin you in my comment section, right? You guys go to my comments too about like some of the stuff that people are saying. Oh, I'll leave them there and then I pin them so that all of you, when you go to leave a comment, you get to see that person first. I won't delete them or block them at all. You know, it all depends what they're saying. It really does. I guess it all depends on whether or not, like, if you're just chucking around ad hominem and calling people names and just being, that, bye. But you can have your opinion, and then I'm probably just gonna pin your comment and tell you why your opinion's wrong. But I'm at least gonna tell you why your opinion's wrong with some facts. All right. Well, thank you too fast. I appreciate you. I think you are so pretty. You got a pretty mouth. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Love you. Love you. Love you right back, Leslie and Billy. Thank you, honey. Appreciate you. Okay. So this one's 8 pages. We could probably do this quick and then I'll come back later after work. Okay. Because I do got to go to work. Unless somebody out there wants to pay for my life and send me, $1,000. If you want to pay my rent and my bills and all of that and do my food shopping, this bitch has to go to work. And it is what it is. Ain't nobody else taking care of me. So you're going to get me when you can in between my work. All right. So let's see. This is the state's motion in limine regarding investigative genetic genealogy. Can you guys all see this okay? Yeah. Okay. Good. Okay. All right. Uh, let's see. Okay, cool. I'm going to be in another window reading. Can't see chat. Please stay nice to each other, friends. Comes now, State of Idaho, by and through the Latah County Prosecuting Attorney, and respectfully moves the court in limine for an order. One, describing the extent to which the parties can refer at trial to the IGG used in this case. And two, excluding from the trial any testimony or evidence related to the United States Department of, we'll just say DOJ policy. I'm not reading all this motherfucking shit. DOJ policy on forensic genetic genealogy. We'll just say that. I'm not reading all this bullshit. Man, I just gumped myself up with that one. Hang on, friends. Actually, you know what? Hang on. I'm going to read this to you in 1 minute. Hang on. I got to mute just for 1 second. Okay. Hang on, friends. I will be right back. I got to mute just for 1 second. So sorry. Hang on. Okay. And we are back. Sorry about that. Here we go. We're back. Comes now, State of Idaho, by and through Latah County Prosecuting Attorney, respectfully moves the court in limine for an order one, describing the extent to which the parties can refer at trial to the IGG used in this case, and two, excluding from trial any testimony or evidence related to the U.S. DOJ policy on forensic genetic genealogy. The terms of service of any of the genetic genealogy subscription services, the policy debate on whether law enforcement should use IGG in criminal investigations, and any alleged discovery violations. So here comes the state saying, hey now, can you please make sure that this bitch is not allowed to talk about at trial? Okay. How these terms of services for these genetic genealogy subscription services, can we please make sure they're not allowed to talk about how we may have violated that? Can we please make sure that they can't talk about the policy debate that's ongoing about whether or not law enforcement should be using IGG in criminal investigations? And can we please make sure they definitely don't talk about any of our numerous discovery violations, Your Honor? The name Brian Kohberger first appeared on law enforcement's radar in this matter because of IGG, and IGG has been the subject of much litigation in the case. So even the state admits we did not get Kohberger's name without IGG. It is because of IGG we got his name. Right. So all of those other tips that they claim they got about Mr. Kohberger out of those tens and tens of thousands of tips that law enforcement received, and the only ones that could be substantiated were the tips for Kohberger. That's actually bullshit because the only thing that gave law enforcement Kohberger's name was IGG. There was no tip prior to his arrest to law enforcement for Mr. Kohberger. That's why you can't find an ISP report pertaining to a tip for Kohberger prior to his arrest, because there weren't any. IGG and IGG only. IGG is the origin. Isn't that what they've stated repeatedly in their documents? The state is conceding to that. IGG is the origin. Most recently, the court found the use of IGG during the investigation did not violate the defendant's Fourth Amendment right. The remaining question is the extent to which the parties will be allowed to discuss IGG and related information at trial. Sidebar, something tells me here, if for any reason this ever were to go to a higher court, I would imagine the higher court is going to find that Hitler erred here. Hitler erred here by finding that the use of the IGG here did not violate the defendant's Fourth Amendment right. I would imagine that the higher court is likely going to find that Hitler erred in this decision. And this may even be reversible error, in my opinion, because you violated the due process right of the defendant. The state's view from the outset has been that IGG information was, quote, nothing more than a tip, end quote, and was never intended to, quote, prove or substantiate the defendant's guilt, end quote. Instead, the state planned to rely at trial on the evidence developed after the use of IGG, such as the STR DNA analysis that found the defendant's DNA matched the DNA collected from the K-bar knife sheath, end quote. Let's just stop there. Let's read this again. Instead, the state planned to rely at trial on the evidence developed after the use of IgG, such as STR DNA analysis. Oopsie. Oopsie. What's wrong with that sentence there? We'll do this like a class. We'll do this like a class. I want to see who in the comments is going to get it first. Who's going to get this right first? What's wrong with this sentence? Instead, the state planned to rely at trial on the evidence developed after the use of IgG, such as the STR DNA analysis. What's wrong with that sentence? Oh, that's right. The STR profile was created after IgG, huh? Because IgG is the fucking origin. You got it, Angel GB. Beautifully broken woman. You got it. I thought the STR profile was created first by ISP Lab and uploaded to CODIS, which produced no hit, which is why they went to IgG. Yeah. Oopsie. 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 If you did STR and CODIS first, obviously not. And this is the state's filing, by the way, for anybody who's not paying attention. This is not a defense filing. This is the state's. The state is admitting the STR DNA analysis was done after IgG. It says it right here, what the state planned to rely on at trial. The evidence developed after the use of IgG, such as STR DNA analysis. So, just saying, which is it, right? Because we just read another filing where the state themselves claim that the STR CODIS was done first. And now this is their other document regarding IgG. Nope. IgG was done first. They did the STR shit after IgG. After. Buddy Bear, I like coffee too. Welcome on in. Good to see you. Senor. Senor. How are you? It's like saying I gave birth and then I conceived a child. Senor. It's a good one. So isn't this so interesting, huh? When you think about it, really, that's why I kind of wanted to go back and look at everything and read it all together. Because I know when we get these documents, they're all broken up and, you know, so I mean, I just think it's super, super interesting that in the state's own filing here, they're saying, nope, what we plan to rely on at trial is the evidence that we got after IgG, after the use of IgG. The state also made clear from the beginning that it would need to reference the IgG information in some manner at trial, even if only as a generic tip, to help the jury understand how the investigation progressed. No, you don't get to reference IgG at the trial, bitch, because you claim it's just a tip and not what you relied on anyway. It was just a tip. So you don't even get to talk about it, actually. This is why now, after I'm telling you, once you read all these together, it all makes sense why the state eventually conceded and stipulated to not even wanting to even talk about IgG because it fucking buries the state. It buries them. It would help the jury see that, in fact, there was no proper investigation into Mr. Kohberger. They just had Othram and the FBI backdoor these databases that law enforcement's barred from for them to, they had to violate the rights in order for the state and law enforcement to do their job. And that's what the middlemans will never tell you. Middlemans are never going to tell you that they're absolutely in bed with them to violate the rights. And it's sad and it's disgusting. Because if you have to violate the rights to do your job, you suck, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. I'm nobody. The defense, on the other hand, and believe me, I'm not, but sidebar, I'm not taking away from what the middlemans do. I'm all for IGG and using this IGG work, especially for cold cases and things like that, because we didn't have the technology back in the 60s, the 70s, the 50s, okay? And if you're still trying to solve crime from then, I'm all for that. But IGG is not supposed to be that it's the first thing, okay? The first thing that law enforcement does for their investigation. That's not what it's supposed to be. That's not what they're for. And I'm not on board with it. I, for one, am not. I, for one, am of the opinion if you have your DNA in a fucking database somewhere, one of these third-party databases, get it out. Remove your profile immediately from these databases. Get it out. Next thing you know, your trace DNA is going to be in someone's house somewhere who gets murdered, and they try fucking pinning it on you. See, bitch, we got you. Because guess what? We backdoored a database we shouldn't have, and it doesn't matter. We found you. Genetically, we connected you. And it's okay because you know what? Most of these courts are just letting us do it anyway. They don't care that we're violating your rights to get to you. They're allowing it. You get what I'm saying? I have no idea who this is. 603 foot. Huh. Interesting. So, anyways, um, I'm all for IGG solving crimes, but I'm also all for I want them I want oversight. I want independent oversight. I want people like Gabby Vargas double checking and triple checking Othram's work. You understand? I want people who have actual ethics, who have actual values, who have no problem telling us the truth about how law enforcement backdoors databases, exactly the loopholes they use. Notice Othram won't tell us that. Ms. Vargas did. Ms. Vargas didn't lie under oath. She told the truth about the loopholes, and that's why they sent the feds to her house, because she told the truth. Middleman and his wife, they're never going to tell you about the back doors and the loopholes. They're the ones who helped with the back doors and the loopholes. Who do you think's helping them? These people. It wasn't another lab that helped the FBI backdoor this shit. It was Othram, right? Wasn't Parabon, it wasn't CC Moore. It wasn't anyone except Othram and the middlemans. These are the people who helped the FBI backdoor the databases they're barred from. These are the people who help law enforcement backdoor databases they are barred from. Well, Wilson Grand, it's not so much they figured out he's the killer, but went about it the wrong way. They took what is a very small trace sample of his DNA from the inside button snap of the sheath, backdoored it. They said that they built an STR profile first and ran it through CODIS, and they got no hit, which is why they went to IGG. That's not true. They did IGG first. IGG produced a possible lead for them. And then that is when They went and created the STR profile from the sheet. You understand? And did the STR analysis. That's when you're going around backdoor, and they helped, and Othram helped them backdoor the STR and the SMP. The problem is what they're not telling you is they also have another mail. It isn't just single source mail located on that sheet. It wasn't. There's other male DNA mixed in with victim DNA on the sheet, and they still have no idea who that is. They haven't, as far as I know, Othram hasn't bothered to build a profile for that, nor have they offered. So it's just super interesting to me that they're admitting IgG came first. And what they planned to rely on at trial was the evidence that came after IgG gave them the tip. Okay. The defense, on the other hand, has been all in on presenting the IgG at trial. It has now disclosed two experts, Leah Larkin and Daniel Hellwig, whose sole focus is information related to the IgG. The disclosure from Ms. Larkin indicates the defense wants to discuss more than the IgG itself, but also present to the jury information one step further removed, including allegations that the FBI's use of IgG in the investigation violated a U.S. Department of Justice policy. The terms of service of certain genetic genealogy databases and foreign law. Yep, that's what they were going to argue. Miss Leah Larkin was going to discuss more than the IgG itself. She was also going to present to the jury information that went one step further, that included allegations that the FBI's use of the IgG in this investigation violated U.S. Department of Justice policy, the terms of service of certain genetic genealogy databases, and foreign law. The state now seeks an order from this court describing the extent to which the parties will be allowed to reference IgG at trial and excluding the more tenuous information disclosed by the defense. This court should enter an order describing the extent to which the parties can refer to at trial IgG was used in this case. The state should be allowed to present the IgG information at least as a generic tip to help the jury understand how the investigation progressed. Sidebar, no. You don't get to use it as a generic tip. The moment that you say the word investigative genetic genealogy, you have then opened the door for the defense to cross-examine, vet, and explain what IgG is, how it works, and how it was used. Just like your stupid little tips that were called in. You don't get to use it as a generic tip. If you're going to use the word, if you want to be able to talk about IgG at trial, then you need to explain to the jury what IgG is, not just it's a tip. They need to know what it is and how it works. Evidence must be relevant to be admissible. Evidence is relevant if, quote, it has any tendency to make a fact more or less probable than it would be without the evidence, end quote. The fact is of consequence in determining the action. Testimony from an investigator as to how an investigation progressed can be relevant and admissible. In Hall, a detective testified about how he used DNA to eliminate an individual as a suspect in the investigation. Oh, so now you want the detective to testify about the IgG, not the actual person who did the work, huh? Interesting. So you have a detective who used DNA, huh? The detective did the DNA work? The detective works in the DNA lab? The detective used DNA to eliminate an individual. Really? Interesting. The district court overruled a relevancy objection and the Idaho Supreme Court affirmed. The court explained that the testimony was relevant because, quote, it provided the jury with a complete story. In that quote, it explained why the police no longer considered the individual as a suspect and, quote, provided the jury with details about how the investigation progressed. The court also observed that the testimony, quote, was relevant to refute the defendant's contention that the former suspect was involved in the victim's murder. That is not to say, however, that such testimony is always relevant and admissible. State v. Bonner. In Bonner, an officer testified that a dispatcher had told him that the defendant had said he wanted to kill a cop. The district court overruled an objection on the basis that the statement, quote, was offered for the limited purpose of showing what information the officers possess and how this information might bear on the subsequent actions of the officers, end quote. Idaho Supreme Court disagreed, finding that, quote, limited purpose was not relevant. The court reasoned that, quote, the facts of consequence during the state's case in chief were facts bearing on the elements of the offense charged, end quote, and, quote, evidence of the motives of the officers' actions on the night in question did not prove any element of the offense charged. But the court noted, quote, the testimony would have been relevant to rebut a defense challenge to the reasonableness of the officers conducting the hearing, conduct after hearing the bleh. The court noted the testimony would have been relevant to rebut a defense challenge to the reasonableness of the officer's conduct after hearing the radio report. Here in this case, for fuck's sake, it's about time, state, the IGG information falls on the Hall side of the line, presenting the fact that law enforcement received a tip directing them toward the defendant is necessary to, quote, provide the jury with a complete story, end quote, by explaining why law enforcement considered defendant a suspect. And unlike the challenge testimony in Bonner, the IGG information is, quote, relevant to rebut a defense challenge to the reasonableness of the officer's conduct. Specifically, the defense has signaled its plan to present to the jury the theory that law enforcement rushed to judgment when it focused on the defendant as the suspect. And then it says memorandum in support of the motion to suppress regarding genetic information. Looks like pages 3 through 6, November 14th, 2025, asserting law enforcement had a different, quote, main suspect prior to the IGG, as well as 2 other, quote, unknown male profiles found in and around the residence. Let's read this again. Specifically, the defense has signaled its plan to present to the jury the theory that law enforcement rushed to judgment when it focused on the defendant as the suspect. And then you'll be able to, it's telling the court, if you go look here, Your Honor, you'll see they are asserting law enforcement had a different, quote, main suspect, end quote, prior to the IGG, as well as 2 other, quote, unknown male profiles found in and around the residence, end quote. So prior to Kohberger, they already had a different main suspect, as well as 2 others. Defendant's supplemental response to requests for discovery regarding expert witnesses. Exhibit D1B, the report of Ruth Ballard, page 19, filed January 23rd, 2025, including on the list of items that weigh in favor of the defendant that 2 other unknown male profiles were found on a handrail and on a glove, but, quote, the police never investigated the leads further, end quote. The IGG information is, quote, relevant to refute end quote, that theory. Thus, the state should be permitted. Let's read that again. They're conceding here. They're conceding list of items that weigh in favor of the defendant that 2 other unknown male profiles were found in this crime scene on a handrail and a glove, and the police never investigated the leads further. The IgG information is relevant to refute that theory. Thus, the state should be permitted to present the IgG information at least as a generic tip. This court should exclude from trial alleged violations of the DOJ policy, terms of service, and foreign law, policy debates about privacy, and allegations of discovery violations. They never wanted the jury to hear. Wait, you can't fucking let her get up and tell the jury that we violated DOJ policy. We're violating all of these DNA databases terms of fucking service. We're violating foreign law. We can't let her get up and speak about policy debates that have to do with people's privacy rights. And we certainly cannot ever let the fucking jury or the public know about our numerous discovery violations, Your Honor. Please. Don't let it happen. That's what they're asking for here. Literally. I'm not even going to fucking read through this. First, this court should exclude testimony or evidence that the FBI's use of IgG in this case violated the DOJ policy, the terms of service of certain genetic genealogy subscription services, or any foreign law. Then we have Leah Larkin. Leah Larkin has opined the FBI violated the DOJ policy in the terms of service of certain genetic genealogy databases. Larkin report page 6 stating one of the databases is an Israeli company and opining that database users, quote, may be protected by European privacy laws. None of these allegations, even if true, none of these allegations, even if true. You know what that means, right, friends? Come on, let's say it all together. Even if. What does it mean? What does it mean when we see that in a document? What does it mean? None of these allegations, even if true, bear any weight on the issue of the defendant's guilt. Tellingly, throughout all the IgG litigation in this case, the defense has failed to articulate any theory by which the alleged violations of the terms of service, DOJ policy, or any foreign law could have any effect whatever on the reliability of the IgG process. Instead, the defense pieces those alleged violations together to conclude, quote, the FBI would not have identified Mr. Kohberger so quickly had they followed protocol. That's Leah Larkin's quote from her report, page 12. But the speed with which law enforcement identified defendant has no bearing whatever on whether or not the defendant committed the charged crimes. The evidence is also inadmissible under Rule 403. Rules of evidence. Evidentiary rules don't fucking matter when it comes to your due process rights, so I'm not reading it. Presentation of this evidence could unfairly prejudice the state's case if one or more jurors decide to give unrelated evidence less weight because they believe the FBI violated the DOJ policy, the terms of service, or foreign law, even though those alleged violations could have no effect on the defendant's guilt. Well, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter, because if you violated the due process rights of the defendant, then your fucking evidentiary rules don't matter, and the jury should be well aware that you had to violate the rights. And if they decide that you violating the rights is more important, and they say, fuck you, mistrial, because you violated his rights, that's a you problem. That's a you problem. Maybe you shouldn't violate the rights to do your job. And then you wouldn't have killers getting off on technicalities. Yeah? Maybe, maybe just maybe, FBI, law enforcement, maybe just maybe just maybe killers wouldn't be getting off on technicalities if you just did your fucking job by the book. Then we wouldn't even have to worry about it. We wouldn't even have to worry about Kohberger coming back saying, see, they violated my fucking rights to get to me. Mistrial, right? You wouldn't have someone like Kohberger or his defense team even being able to say something like that because you didn't violate their rights. You did everything by the book and you got them the right way. So that's what the state was really worried about here. Well, what the fuck? This could unfairly prejudice the state's case if one or more of these jurors decide, actually, yeah, we believe the defense, the FBI violated the DOJ's policy, the terms of service, and foreign law. And you know what? Charges fucking dismissed. Bye. That's exactly what they didn't want to happen. They didn't want charges being dismissed. They didn't want him getting acquitted on a technicality because they violated everybody's fucking rights to get to him. Never mind, they're hiding the other people he was with. They know who he was with. He knows who he was with. He's saying he was there. Great. Awesome. Who the fuck was bleeding in the house with you, Brian? Whose blood droplets are on the half wall? Whose blood's on Maddie Mogan's bedroom door? All of these crime scene samples that are being compared to Brian and other males. Okay. All these crime scene samples are being compared to Brian and other males. Wouldn't that logically dictate to you it's a male sample that's not Kohberger? Don't you want whoever was involved completely charged and sitting right beside him? Nobody wants his accomplices getting away with this, right? I would hope. I would hope nobody wants the accomplices not being charged, whoever they may be, right? Just saying. Just questions. Moreover, allowing the defense to present this evidence would turn the criminal trial into something it's not. As this court observed, violations of the database's user policies, quote, may give rise to a civil action between the FBI and the particular database, or perhaps the individuals whose DNA profiles were used. But that action would be between two other parties in an entirely different case. Oh, well, I'm glad you agree with that, State. Thanks for putting it in writing. That action would be between two other parties in an entirely different case, right? Right, that would be more like your federal tort claim. Yeah, right. You could probably file a federal tort claim for that with the FBI. Oh, but that's right. You're hiding all the information of whose DNA they used, huh? That's right. You're hiding the DNA profiles. Interesting. Litigating that case during this trial would risk, quote, confusing the issues, misleading the jury, and undue delay and waste of time. Second, this court should exclude any evidence or argument on the policy debate of whether law enforcement should use IgG in criminal investigations. The Larkin report, pages 3 through 4, claiming that DNA used for IgG can reveal, quote, intensely private information like biomedical details and genetic risks such as addiction, Alzheimer's, autism, bipolar disorder, cancer, cystic fibrosis, heart disease, schizophrenia, and many more, end quote. Whether as a matter of policy, law enforcement should use IgG in criminal investigations has nothing whatever to do with the issue of guilt in this case. This court has already resolved the privacy issues as they relate to the Fourth Amendment. Any residual privacy concerns fall within, quote, the purview of the legislature, not the courts. and certainly not juries in criminal trials. If the defense is allowed to argue privacy policy to the jury, there is a significant risk that a juror will make the decision in the case based on their subjective view on privacy as opposed to their view of the evidence with respect to the defendant's guilt. Yet again, Your Honor, we cannot have the jury knowing that we're violating people's privacy fucking rights because then they might dismiss the charges against this asshole. They may overlook our circumstantial evidence. And we can't have them overlooking all of our circumstantial evidence. Third, this court should exclude any evidence or allegations related to the discovery process in this case. See the Larkin report, pages 7 and 8. She's lamenting that, quote, discovery has been an extremely involved and drawn out process, and opining that the protective order hamstrung the defense. Yeah, it sure motherfucking did. She isn't opining. It's not an opinion, Bill. It's a fact. It hamstrung them. That's why you did it, asshole. And you know that. Whether the defense received everything the defense believes it was entitled to during discovery has nothing to do with the defendant's guilt. No, but it has everything to do with whether or not they can be effective, huh? And you'd be violating his due process rights when you force his counsel to be ineffective, you asshole. By withholding discovery, by playing fiddly fuck with the evidence, okay, not giving it up when you're supposed to, you are in essence forcing his counsel to be ineffective, therefore violating his due process right to effective assistance of counsel. And they know they're fucking doing it. Allowing the defense to argue to the jury that the state should have produced more in discovery significantly risks unfairly prejudicing the state. Oh, well, no. Your Honor, we can't have that. Your Honor, the state will unfairly prejudice the defendant as much as we fucking feel like it, but don't you dare let them do it to us. That's really all that's being said here. That's it. Don't let them do it to us. That's all. Don't let them unfairly prejudice us in front of the jury and make us look like absolute idiots in front of the jury, Your Honor, please. That's what we're asking for. Allowing the defense to argue to the jury that the state should have produced more in discovery significantly risks unfairly prejudicing the state by improperly and inaccurately suggesting that the state has hidden information to which the defendant is legally entitled. You did, bitch. You hid it. You knew you were hiding it. It inadvertently got left out of your files given to the judge for in-camera review. You admitted to it. And then you didn't even try to correct the record on it. The state, therefore, respectfully submits that this court should enter an order describing the extent to which the parties can discuss IGG at trial and excluding argument or evidence related to the DOJ policy, terms of service, foreign law, policy debates about privacy, and allegations of alleged discovery violations under Rules 401, 402, 403, and the Idaho Rules of Evidence. Evidentiary rules never trump due process rights. Ever, ever, ever. So let me stop sharing that. Friends, as much as I would love to be able to stay here with you and continue to read more, I literally can't. It is now 3:19. I have to be to work in 45 minutes. We got through what we could go through. I'm sorry that I took up a good 45 minutes in the beginning of this live, just kind of giving you my brainworms on what's going on in the world. And I'll come back tonight. We'll get through the rest of this. All of these documents are linked in the description of the video. I just want to say thank you to every single one of you for hanging out here with me today. Really do. I hope you have an awesome, awesome Saturday. Mods, I truly appreciate you. Jazz King, as always. My king, thank you so much. Too Fast for Fleas. Who else? Someone sent a super sticker. Or did I star it? I tried to. Yes, William Tardy. Yes, yes, yes. Too Fast for Fleas. You're so pretty. Thank you so much for your super sticker. William Tardy, thank you, sir, as always. Appreciate the support. Also, another $5 super sticker. Jazz King, my king, $10 super sticker contributing to the Star Beast Fund. Thank you so very, very much. And to those of you, if you sent a little something, to the Cash App, Venmo, whatever, you don't have to either. Please don't ever think you have to, but I truly appreciate it. It does go to Starbucks and then also goes to FOIAs when they make me pay for them. That's what I use the money for. If I got to pay for FOIAs, that's what it goes to. And it goes to my Starbucks addiction. That's about it. But yeah, I truly appreciate all of you. Thanks, everybody. Mods, love you. Sorry I can't stick around. We'll try again later. And hopefully my audio will hold up. I hope it held up this entire time. It looks like a lot of people dipped out though, so maybe my audio got really bad at some point and everybody was like, fuck this, I'm out. Or somebody else went live, but whatever. It is what it is. I'm going to work. I hope you guys have an awesome Saturday. Stay safe out there. Okay. Stay strapped. Double Glocks, double locks. And I'll see you later tonight. I'm going to try and shoot for like 8:30, 9 o'clock. We'll see. Okay. Hope you guys have an awesome day. Take care. My audio held up great. Perfect. Thank you so much. Awesome. Wonderful. Still sounds great. Yes, let the snark be with you and also with you, Stone. Good luck on that job interview. Honestly, good luck. I hope you get the job. Chad T, thank you. Joanna, thank you. Everybody, thank you for being here. I hope you guys have an awesome Saturday. Try and see you tonight, okay? Bye. Oh my God. Hi, beautiful Kiki. So good to see you, honey. Happy Saturday. Hope you're enjoying the beach with the puppers. Bye.